Hello, welcome to another episode of Forgotten Cemeteries, Pacific Northwest. It is really loud by this cemetery, so apologies. Today we're at Sunset Pioneer Cemetery, located in Tigard, Oregon, Washington County. Alternative names to the cemetery include Emanuel, Evangel, Little Bull Mountain, the Pioneer Sunset, Tigardville, and United Methodist. So let's go meet some of the local residents and hear their story. Alright, a little history about the cemetery. It was established in 1887. There's estimated to be about 25 to 100 burials, many of those being children from what I read on Find a Grave, looking at, the birth dates and such, and deaths. Some of Tigard's earliest pioneers and ancestors are buried here. It's a German-based cemetery for the most part. It was originally located behind the Emanuel German Church, which was built in 1886. That church was torn down in 1919 to pave Highway 99, which is probably that loud street over there that we keep hearing. Apologies again if the noise is a little muffled or kind of hard to hear. Hopefully not. So, Trinity Church was the new spot for the Emanuel German Church. During transition, a lot of the cemetery records were lost forever in the exchange, from my understanding. Nobody even realized that there was a cemetery here for many years. It was kind of out of sight in a local hangout. Homeless and teens trashed the area, damaged the headstones, and vandalized the area for the most part. One goofball apparently tried to dig up a grave. Word is he got about 3 feet down. The story goes something scared them off, and only a shovel was found, the legend says. The cemetery and site was abandoned until 1997. Luckily, the Tigard Breakfast Rotary Club stepped in and started to clean it up. From my understanding, the cemetery's future still hangs in the balance. One of the books I was reading, Mad as the Mist and Snow, was by Johann Matheson. Says one of the most disturbing aspects of this cemetery is the number of deep holes in front of headstones. From what I've seen, that's been corrected, thankfully. I think how you pronounce this is Behnke. Hope I'm saying that right. This seems to be the most important name in the cemetery, one of the biggest plots. The oldest grave in the cemetery is also found somewhere in this little plot from infant Behnke from 1887. That's when the cemetery was established. Apparently one of these headstones doesn't even belong to the cemetery. A contractor found it and brought it here because there is a housing development like very close to the cemetery, built all around it. So I imagine during construction that's when it was found. Right here we have the Kurth family plot. Jacob Kurth is here. He'll be to the left. Let's see if I can pan over there. Kind of that little headstone in the ground right there to the left. That's Jacob Kurth. He was born in 1842 and is a native to Switzerland. Overall, there's about 5 Kurths here, I believe. Kind of a cool story, talking to the Rotary Club, who was very nice and shared some documents about the place. The present-day family actually helped with the cleaning up of the cemetery at one time. Way down in the corner, we have the Volks Vaught. Vogt? That's a tough one to say. On the right, we have Miss Sophia Charlotte Vogt. That's a long one. She was born in 1829 in Baden-Württemberg, Germany. To the left, we have Conrad C. Vogt. I know I'm probably saying that wrong. I believe he has the earliest birth date in the cemetery of 1821, from what I read. Here we have Josephine E. Baldwin Robinson. She was born in Forest Lake, Pennsylvania in 1853. She married a man named Mortimer Robinson in 1873. During this time, Josephine was a school teacher. I'm unsure if she continued her career out here in Oregon, but from what I read, her husband would come to Oregon in 1888. She would follow shortly because she was pregnant with twins. I imagine nobody wants to travel across the plains pregnant, especially with twins. Unfortunately, Josephine would die in 1906 at only 52 years old. Her husband Mortimer would return back to Pennsylvania. Here's John Miltenberger. He is a Civil War veteran. the headstone's not the same as the other headstones we've seen at the other cemeteries when it comes to Civil War veterans. You know, they kind of had that, kind of like that white look to them in the borderline, almost like a marble look. This one's a little different. The Rotary Club was nice enough to share a document with me, but it sounded like John may have played a part in transporting the Abe Lincoln cannon by train. If you're not familiar, the Abe Lincoln cannon was a Rodman gun forged in 1860 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was the largest artillery piece produced during the Civil War. Apparently this cannon weighed 49,000 pounds, had a range of 4 miles, and you had your kind of choice of a 450-pound solid shot or a 300-pound explosive shot. So they needed to transport it by train to Pittsburgh to Fort Monroe, Virginia, its final destination. Sounds like John played a part in transporting it. Alright, came across an interesting story about John here. John Piatt, I'm guessing that's how you say that. He was born in 1867 and he died in 1915. But death year is key. So who is John Piatt? Well, that's what the town in Washington was trying to find out. 2 men named George Blanton and Dex Silver were digging a trench one day for a water line and hit his tombstone. John's headstone was found 3 feet buried in this area for some reason. So the town at this time was Packwood, which is a 3-hour drive to Washington State by car from Tigard. How did John's tombstone end up here in another state? Well, that's what they were trying to find out. So they asked one of the oldest residents in Packwood named Ireland Blankenship, and they said, you know, who the hell is this? And the guy was like, I have no idea who that is. I've never heard of that last name. Because back then, you know, the towns were a little smaller and everyone knew everyone, I'm guessing. So nobody really had a clue who it was, and they weren't familiar with the last name. They even turned to the headstone designers, as the headstone had a similar design to the local businesses. However, they didn't start businesses in the tombstone making field, if you will, until the 1920s in town. John died in 1915. They then turned to the local historian, who came up empty. One final theory came about from a local old-timer in town. He recalled that tombstones made an excellent foundation block for constructing buildings. During the 1900s, it was discovered at Jackson Prairie Cemetery, which is located in Indiana. Tombstones were actually being used as foundation blocks. However, nobody truly knows how John's headstone ended up in Packwood, Washington. It just remains a mystery till this day. But luckily, he's back here where he belongs. Okay. Here we start our little tour, mini tour in the back of the cemetery. For the most part, it was kind of hard to find information on people here. I really wouldn't have had none without the help of the Tigard Breakfast Rotary Club. So thanks for sharing the documents and such and answering my stupid questions. It's pretty cool that they're taking care of it. You know, reading up the history of this cemetery. Seems like it was a rough one. Pretty much forgotten about. Which is the reason I came here for many years. And it's kind of cool that family of the Kurth family, the present day family, helped with that cleanup. If you do come to this cemetery, there is no parking like right at the cemetery. You'll have to park on the street. I parked quite a ways, maybe like a 5 or 10 minute walk, because like I said, there is a housing development that was built like right up against it. You can see there's the fence, and then there's a headstone right in front of us. So they used every inch they could, I guess. And we talk about Robinson here. There is an unmarked grave here. I don't really see any writing on it for the most part. Just a little upright rectangle of concrete. There's our Civil War guy. Transported the Abe Lincoln Rodman gun. That's pretty cool to learn about because I didn't know what that was. For all you Civil War history buffs out there, maybe you know more about it, you could share. Overall, it's a pretty small cemetery. I wish I could say it's a peaceful one, but the traffic it's pretty loud. Let's work our way down here. So apology on the traffic noise, and apology if I sound muffled. I'm wearing a mask right now. Just, yeah, you know, be respectful for people that are passing through the cemetery. There's a pretty cool headstone here. Check this out. It's very unique. I haven't seen one like that yet. Looks like it belongs to a child. Yeah. There is another unique headstone coming up. I think it's more of a memorial. I think the last name was Bairdman, I want to say. And here's another Vogt. I'm probably saying it wrong. Very wrong. Short-lived, 1868 to 1903. That seems to be a popular last name here as well. And Piatt as well. We have Wesley here, who's a World War I veteran. U.S. Army. And then we talked about John right here. And Clarence May Piatt, it was a young child that died, but I couldn't find any information on Clarence. Or is it Clarice? Apologies. And I think there's another Piatt buried here, but the marker's not around. So this is that one memorial I was telling you about. It's kind of neat. And like I said, I think it belongs to Bairdman. Like there's a little damage there. And this would be Kurth's plot. Yeah, I guess we'll go this way, huh? Let's go see who's over here on the fence line. William Pollard. Died in 1893, 57 years old. It looks like we have Steinhoff. That sounds very German. Like I said, for the most part, it is a German-based cemetery. These ones are 1920s, 1916s. Fortunately, a broken headstone here. Here we have Bremer. Maybe people that read German can translate that. It looks like it's from the Bible. It's got like a little verse number on the bottom. another one. I think they're the same, looking at them. Yeah, the same verse. Down here, way in the corner, we have the Volks. Talked about them a little bit. I really wish I had more information on people. Like I said, I could only find a select, maybe 4 stories, and a lot of history about the cemetery though, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of vandalism. You can see here there's someone used to be here, but we don't know who, or maybe the Rotary Club has it documented. Looks like somebody was doing some wood cutting. Yeah, there's still smoke coming off the fire. Work our way up the hill, getting close to done. Looks to be, oh man, Hamburg. I'm gonna go with that. 1877 on that one. This appears to be one of the older ones that was vandalized, missing half the headstone. Looks like this is classified as an Oregon Historic Cemetery by the Oregon Commission of Historic Cemeteries. That's cool. And right here we have the Behnke family. This is also where infant Behnke is buried. I believe the oldest burial in the cemetery. And a headstone brought over by a contractor at one time during construction. So, probably a quick video. Unfortunately, couldn't find a whole lot of stories. Wish I had more. Apologies. But there were some cool stories overall, I have to say. They were pretty fun learning about some of the history of, you know, like the Civil War canon. John Piatt's story of his headstone being used as a foundation block, perhaps. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any recommendations for other pioneer cemeteries in the state of Oregon to visit, feel free to leave a comment. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.